Hello learners, your economics teacher Ruchika Sharma is back with one more video lesson to support you and your learning back at home. If we have a look at your curriculum, then we all will be able to know that out of 4 total chapters of economics, we have already covered chapter 1, the story of village Palampur. And we are here to start our new chapter, that is chapter number 2, people as resource. Now, before starting this chapter, let's go through the terminology regarding basic concepts of economics that you have learned in chapter 1. This will help you to understand the terminology and concepts of chapter 2, people as resource, more easily. So let's get started. The topics that you all have learned include factors of production, multiple cropping, modern methods of farming, capital invested in farming, and non-farming activities done in village Palampur. Now the topics or the concepts that are going to help you in this chapter are mainly factors of production. Factors of production are those factors or inputs that help you in the process of production. There are 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. Let's have a quick revision of labor and capital. Labor refers to people who will do the work. Some production activities require highly educated workers to perform the necessary tasks, while other activities require workers who can do manual work. Each worker is providing the labor necessary for production. And if we read about the capital, then we are referring to physical capital. That is, the variety of inputs required at every stage of production. These may be fixed capital or working capital. Fixed capital includes tools, machinery, and buildings, while working capital includes raw materials and money in hand. Last but not the least, the most important factor of production is entrepreneur, or you can call it human capital. Actually, you will need knowledge and enterprise to be able to put together land, labor, and physical capital. And this is the task done by human capital. I hope you have all understood these 4 terms: land, labor, capital, and human capital. Except factors of production, we will learn different economic activities done in the world. And we have already studied that in the village Palampur, farming is the main economic activities of 75% of the working population. We had studied in detail all the activities related to farming and farm laborers and the capital, how they accumulate capital and how they use their capital. And except farming, there are 4 non-farming activities done in the village Palampur. These include dairy, small-scale manufacturing, transport, and shopkeepers of Palampur. Now, let's start our chapter 2, whose title is People as Resource. So, topics for today. First, introduction. After introduction, you will be learning about human capital formation, then investment in human capital, advantages to society, and we will go through 2 different case studies and its implications. After that, last topic would be economic and non-economic activities. Resources of the country can be grouped into 3 categories: natural resources, capital resources, and human resources. Natural resources include all free gifts of nature like land, water, forests, etc. Capital resources include buildings, tools, machines, raw materials, etc. The capital resources you have already learnt as capital in factors of production. Last is human resources. These refers to human beings. In other terms, this is human capital. It implies a country's working population with its existing productive skills and abilities. Thus, human resource refers to the size and quality of people living in an area. Actually, we generally look at only the negative side of the population and consider only the problems of providing the population with food, education, and health facilities. Rapidly growing population also lowers the land and man ratio. Population growth in India is considered one of the major causes of unemployment. But there is also a positive. Looking at the population from the productive aspect emphasizes its ability to contribute to the creation of different goods and services. So, the chapter People as a Resource is an effort to explain population as an asset for the economy rather than a liability. Population becomes human capital when there is investment made in the form of education, training, and medical care. In fact, human capital is the stock of skill and productive knowledge in them. You all should learn the definition of people as resource. It is a way of referring to a country's working people in terms of their existing productive skills and abilities. That means you will be able to understand how a doctor, teacher, engineer, and a tailor as an asset to the economy. Have a moment to read out the definition and try to learn it. You must have learnt the definition of human capital by now. That is, population becomes a human capital when we make investments in health, education, training, etc. Thus, the process of improvement in human capital is called human capital formation, which further adds to the productive capacity of the country. This can be seen in the form of higher productivity or the better trained persons. Looking at the population from this productive aspect emphasizes its ability to contribute to the creation of the gross national product, which is the term used to define total produced goods and services in an economy during a financial year. Like other resources, population is also a resource, that is human resource, that I have already told you. This is the positive side of a large population that is often overlooked. When the existing human resource is further developed by making more educated and healthy people, we call it a human capital formation that adds to the productive power of the country, just like physical capital formation. In order to summarize the term human capital formation, we can say that by making investments in human capital, that is through education, training, medical care, they improve and that is what known as human capital formation. Now, let's learn more about investment in human capital and its importance in economy. Investments made in human capital is in the form of better education, training, and medical care. Human beings can be turned into resources only if their qualitative aspects are developed. This requires investment in them. Education and health are the major human resource inputs of a country. Investments in human capital through education, training, medical care yields a return, just like investments in physical capitals. This can be seen directly in the form of higher incomes because of higher productivity of the more educated or better trained persons. For example, India's Green Revolution is a dramatic example of how the input of greater knowledge in the form of improved production technologies can rapidly increase the productivity of scarce land resources. And human capital can be defined as the knowledge, ability, skill, and physical capacity of the people which help them to produce more. And the process of improvement in human capital is the outcome of investments in education and health. Planning Commission of India has also published Green Revolution as an example of how the input of greater knowledge improves production technologies. You have a minute to go through the example, whose source is Planning Commission, Government of India. Now, we have already learnt that human capital is beneficial for an individual in the form of higher productivity and higher income and better health. But human capital is beneficial for both individual as well as for society. It creates individual benefits as well as social benefits. For example, an educated person is benefited individually when he earns more than what he could earn without it. He creates social benefit when he contributes to socio-economic progress of the country. Human capital can be updated through continuous investments in education and health. Underdeveloped countries have remained poor because of underdevelopment of human capital. For many decades in India, a large population has been considered a liability rather than an asset. But a large population need not be a liability. It can be turned into a productive asset by investment. By spending resources on education and health for all, training of industrial and agricultural workers in use of modern technology, useful scientific researches, etc. Thus, human capital is an asset for society and country as well. Now is the time to go through two case studies. The first is shown in the picture. That is the story about 12 years old boy whose name is Sakal, whose father worked in an agricultural field and mother was a housewife. Because of his father's persuasion, he completed his senior secondary, and after looking at his interest, his father borrowed to study a vocational course in computers for Sakal. As he completed his computers course, he got a job in a private firm in which he designed such a software that helped in increasing the sale of a firm in which he worked. His boss acknowledged his services and rewarded him with a promotion. You have a minute to go through the case study given in the picture. And list down the key points of the case study. Next case study is about Vilas, who is an 11-year-old boy residing in the same village as Sakal. Vilas' father Mahesh was a fisherman, but his father passed away when he was only 2 years old. His mother, Geeta, sold fish to earn money to feed the family. She bought fish from the landlord's pond and sold it in the nearby mandi. She could earn only rupees 20 to 30 a day by selling fish. Vilas became a patient of arthritis, which is a disease which causes swelling and pain in the places where your bones are connected, that is, the joint. As Vilas was suffering from arthritis, his mother could not afford to take him to the doctor. He could not go to school either. He was not interested in studies anymore. He helped his mother in cooking and also looked after his younger brother Mohan. After some time, his mother fell sick and there was no one to look after her. There was no one in the family to support them. Vilas too was forced to sell fish in the same village. He, like his mother, earned too small income, that is, a meager salary. Now you have a minute to go through the case study of Vilas shown in the picture. Now the slide includes key points taken out from the above two case studies, that is about Sakal and Vilas. Let's understand. First, Sakal went to school, but Vilas could not go to school because of his deteriorating health and lack of interest left in studies. Then Sakal was physically strong and healthy, while we all know about Vilas and his health issues. Sakal acquired a degree in computer programming and found a job, whereas Vilas continued to work as his mother as a fisherman. After several years of education, Vilas was a skilled worker, which added to the quality of labor and which enhanced his total productivity. On the other hand, if we talk about Vilas then he draws the same salary of unskilled labor as his mother. Therefore, investment in human resource via education and medical facilities can give high rates of return in the future. This investment on people is the same as investment in land and capital. One invests in shares and bonds expecting higher return in the future. A child too, with investments made on her education and health, can yield a higher return in the future in the form of higher earnings and greater contribution to society. Let's understand the outcome, few of which that I have just mentioned, of investment in human resource. The first that I mentioned is higher rates of return, that is higher earnings and greater contribution to the society. Actually, educated parents are found to invest more heavily on the education of their child. This is because they have realized the importance of education for themselves. They are also conscious of proper nutrition and hygiene. They accordingly look after their children's health and needs for education at school. A vicious circle is thus created in this case. In contrast, a vicious circle or cycle which may be created by disadvantaged parents who themselves are uneducated and are lacked in hygiene and also keep their children in the same similar situation, and their children too belong to disadvantaged states. Now I will give you an example of Japan. How Japan, with the help of only human resource, has developed a lot and even faster than other countries having natural and physical capital. Countries like Japan have investment in human resources only, since they do not have any natural resource. But these economies are still developed and rich countries. What they do is they import natural resources needed in their country. Now question arises, if they do not have adequate amount of natural resources, then how did they become rich or developed? The simple answer is they have invested on people, especially in the field of education and health. These people have become and made efficient use of their resources like land and capital. Efficiency and the technology evolved by people have made these countries rich and developed. The skilled and efficient workers thus lead to economic growth of those countries like Japan. On the other hand, in India, we have abundant of human resource along with adequate amount of physical and natural resources. But still, because of lack of planning, we are unable to utilize our human resource in an fruitful way. Human beings undertake various types of activities, with the help of which some earn income while others do not generate any income. So, in short, we can categorize the human activities into two types, that are economic and non-economic activities. Let's go through the economic activities first. Economic activities are related to the generation of income. In other words, by doing such activities, human beings earn money. For example, if a teacher is teaching in a class, she will definitely get salary in return. If a doctor is diagnosing a patient, he will definitely charge his fees. In the above mentioned two activities, both will get money in return. This is termed as economic activities. And if we talk about non-economic activities, then there is no generation of income at all. For example, if mother is teaching his son, she will not charge a single penny from son. On the other hand, if doctor is diagnosing his own son, he is not going to charge him fees. Therefore, by undertaking both the activities mentioned, there will be no flow of money or generation of money. That is why they are termed as non-economic activities. But in economics, we always go through economic activities. We cover economic activities undertaken by men and women of the country. Like Vilas and Sakal, people have been engaged in various activities, detail of which we will learn in next video lesson. So, the topics that we have covered today are meaning of human capital and human capital formation. Population becomes human capital when there is investment in the form of education, training and medical care. Thus, human capital is the stock of skill and productive knowledge. And improvement done in human capital is termed as human capital formation. We have also learnt definition of people as resource, which is a way of referring to a country's working people in terms of their existing productive skills and abilities. After this, we have covered how investment in human capital can yield or produce a higher return in the forms of higher incomes and higher productivity. Human capital formation is beneficial to society as well. Human capital contributes to socio-economic progress of the society or of the country. Thus, continuous investment in human capital should be made in order to grow economy at a faster rate. Then, by reading out the case studies of Sakal and Vilas, we were able to understand that by investment in education and health, how greater rate of returns can be ensured in future. Then we went through the system of Japan, in which whole investment is done in human capital. Students, that's it for today. Don't forget to revise the content again and again. Do your homework properly and regularly. Till then, see you soon.